this young gentleman that's in the building right now. He's the pride of Florida State University, hangs around Tallahassee. He does his thing, has a new book called Open Season. Let's give it up for Ben Crump here. Ben Crump, what's going on, Ben Crump? How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Quincy. Thank y'all so much for having me today.
Yeah, we've seen you. You're one of those people that we see all the time when black people or there's issues in our community, people get in trouble or people need somebody to fight for them. You're there for us.
Absolutely. My hero is Thurgood Marshall. The reason I went to law school is to try to fight for our community to make sure we get equal justice under the law. And so one of the things with this book, Quincy K. Fox, is the fact that when we see these brutalities happen on these high-profile police shootings, we see that they don't often afford equal justice under the law to our people as American citizens. And more poignantly, they kill us in the courtrooms every day with these trumped-up felony convictions. And so that's what we talk about, genocide. The law that is supposed to protect us is actually what they're using to kill us.
Yeah. Are you so making this book? Why did you feel like it was a need for you to make this book now?
You know, it's interesting. I started writing this book in the aftermath of the killing of Michael Brown when we were representing his family in Ferguson. And I remember, Quincy, specifically the National Guard was out there, and these young brothers and sisters would not be quiet. And this one brother went right up to the National Guard when the assault rifle was pointed at him center mass, and he literally came right with his face to the gun, and he said, "Go ahead and kill me now." And with all these cameras here, y'all gonna kill us when the cameras go. It's important that the world see you, how y'all killing us. And it was riveting to me because I said, he's right. It is important that the world see how they're killing us, but literally not just the high-profile killings where there's, Michael Brown or Eric Garner or Tamir Rice, but more poignantly, how every day in America, man, in every city, every state, and you don't have to take Ben Crump's word for it, you just go sit in the back of the courtroom and watch little black children and how they treat little white children with similar fact patterns. The white children get a slap on the wrist. They're escorted out the courtroom to live out the fulfillment of their destiny and achieve the American dream. The black and brown children are taken to the corner of the courtroom, fingerprinted, handcuffed, and given a trumped-up felony conviction that they have to wear like a cross on the backs for the rest of their entire lives.
So maybe you can talk to us about that, because it just boggles my mind where we see you on television fighting for these families, and then 9 times out of 10, these murderers are walking away scot-free, but then yet you're still there fighting with these families. You're grieving with them. It's got to be a heavy burden to bear. So how do you continue on with these not guilty verdicts to constantly walking away free? And what happens in the courtroom when you have all the facts there?
It's so deep because as civil rights lawyers and advocates, we can only advocate in the civil court. We always win our case. They always give us money.
But then they don't give a guilty verdict.
They don't give a guilty, and that's not enough. And we got to make sure these prosecutors who, when it comes to prosecuting little black and brown boys every day, they win 99.9% of their cases. They real good at putting us in jail. But when we're dead on the street, and it's the police who murdered us, it seems like they can never get a conviction. And I think it's because it's like a fish out of water experience, them trying to honor the legacy and build up black men when they so used to every day dogging out black people. And that's what we talk about in the book. The other thing is, this really is like an extension of what the great Paul Robeson in 1951, who at the time he was the most famous African-American in the world. Him and W.B. Du Bois, who was the first black to graduate from Harvard with a PhD, helped found the NAACP. Him and all the other black leaders went over to the United Nations Convention in 1951, Paris, France, in the aftermath of World War II, where all these countries were saying they had committed genocide against our country. Well, these black leaders said, we chose genocide against the government for the killings of Negroes in America. And they said, we base this on the fact that there are daily killings, rapings, and lynchings of Negro people, and the courts do nothing. They're complicit in it. And they looked at the definition, Quincy, of genocide, which they said are an act or acts with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a group based on national, ethnic, racial, or religious identity. And they said, so tell us why this doesn't apply to Negroes in America. And they said the government is either complicit with or responsible for, K. Fox, the genocide. They said it's one or the other. So when you see these judges and these prosecutors see our women get raped by police officers, but yet they don't hold them accountable, or they say, well, we don't have enough evidence, or whatever intellectual justification they use for the discrimination to make sure that people of color get the least of injustice and get the least of justice and the most of injustice. That's when we have to say you are being complicit. You are participating in a conspiracy to create a genocidal situation, as W.B. Du Bois and them said, for black and brown people in America.
Man, we're talking to Ben Crump. He has a new book, Open Season. You're a lawyer. You fought for a lot of different people. It seems like it is open season, right? Like you see the things that are happening now. We just saw something a couple weeks ago in Fort Worth, in Texas, where a police officer comes in and kills an unarmed black woman.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about this case? What do you think may happen?
I think just like Botham Jean, who was in Dallas, Texas, a little bit from Fort Worth, who we represented, and historically we got the white policewoman for the first time in America convicted of murder for killing a black man. But yet then she only got 10 years.
And if she only got 10 years, so how much time would she really serve?
She would probably serve 5 years, tragically, and that's unbelievable. When you think about K. Fox, and I make this point in the book, you got black and brown people languishing for decades in prison for selling weed.
Yeah.
And yet she kills somebody and she's going to get less time. They didn't kill anybody. And so what I argue in the book, I say that now you have the American government who has legalized marijuana. So literally, they're selling weed to make money to pay their bills. But black people were selling weed to make money to pay their bills, and they put us in prison.
Yeah.
So the government should be prohibited from making a profit from selling marijuana until they let all the black and brown people and everybody else who's sitting in prison for selling weed.
And give them back their assets, too.
Because they're doing exactly what we did. Now they're going to make untold fortunes on it.
Yeah.
But yet black people still sitting in prison. But you asked me about Amber Geiger. It's just tragic because you sit with Atiana Jefferson and so many other people where the police have this shoot first, ask questions mentality.
Yeah.
And then the chapter where we say the police don't shoot white men in the back, we draw the illustration that whether it's Stephon Clark, Terrence Crutcher, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, 12-year-old Tamir Rice, it's shoot first. A black man moved the wrong way, they shoot first.
Yeah.
But when you have these young white boys who are confirmed mass murderers, like the Parkland shooting where he shot the 34 people, killing 17 of them, the police can follow him and take him alive.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Waffle House shooting, Quincy, they follow this white guy into the woods. And then they all come out alive.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that was a brother?
Never.
Yeah.
Never happened.
And then the worst is Dylan Roof, who shot the 9 people in the church.
Yes.
They followed him across state lines.
Yeah.
And not only do they take him alive, but then they take him to Burger King to get a burger and fries.
Unbelievable.
But white men are arrested and protected while black men are shot and killed.
What do you think we should do? Like, what is the answer for everything that's going on? If we're open season, what is the answer? What are the executionable items that we can say, this is what is need to be done?
And we talk about that at the end of the book.
Yeah.
Our community, we are the people who have to hold them accountable. And we all can do stuff. I cite John Legend using his social media account, because we all have social media accounts now.
Yeah.
And every day he only talked on his social media account about banning the box, about these convicted felons who couldn't get employment because, they were convicted felons and this racist criminal justice system keeps defining our people. Or we can do stuff like these sisters did in a place called Kissimmee, Florida, going down to City Hall every week, just like they did with Stephon Clark, saying until we address this, there won't be any business done.
Yeah.
And you saw in Stephon Clark's case, they passed the Stephon Clark law, even though no police went to jail. But California now has the most stringent law against excessive force for police that say you can only shoot when it is necessary. So now they got to prove when they kill a brother or sister, every other thing they try to do before they use lethal force. Now, this still flies a face against the United States Constitution that says all the police have to do to get a get out of free jail pass when they kill a person, especially a person of color, is to say 3 magic words: I felt them fear. I felt threatened. You know, that craziness in Graham v. Conner and Gardner v. Tennessee, the Supreme Court has literally given a license to police to kill us and get away with it. But we still are the solutions when we say we won't allow it in our community and we act like it, then it makes a difference. We just have to have the courage to stand up and say the police union won't win. These enemies of equality won't win. We will make sure our children are prepared for this battle and that they are more intelligent than their oppressors.
Yes, Ben Crump, Open Season, the book is out now.
I want to go back to the Amber Geiger case. You're in the courtrooms. Have you ever seen a judge handle a convicted murderer in the way that she did?
I have never. I'm still shocked because I think about all the people of color who never got that consideration, who never got anywhere that measure of thoughtfulness. And we had cases far more compelling. I mean, K-Fox, I invite you, all talking about what we can do. Just go to the courtroom someday when you're free and just sit in the back of the courtroom and do what Chuck D say. Look at the justice and how they run it. I mean, you have these little black children who get these trumped up felony convictions at 15, 16, 17 years old, and they were facing going to trial of a jury of anything but their peers and facing 5 to 15 years. So they said, we'll give you probation for 2 years, but now you're a convicted felon. So they said, well, we got away with that one. But they don't understand at all, now that they're a convicted felon, what that means to their life in America. I mean, you hear this stuff, Quincy, about you can't vote, you can't serve on jury duty, you can't serve in the Army. That's just the tip of the iceberg, man. When you're a convicted felon, I mean, you can't, if you want to go to college, you can't get a federal grant. You can't get a loan from the government. You can't, if you want to be a teacher, you can't get a certification. A nurse can't get a certification. Sisters who want to be a beautician in many states can't get certification. Well, I didn't know. You know, in Atlanta, this blew my mind, y'all, as I was doing research for the book. If you want to be an exotic dancer in a strip club, if you're a convicted felon, you can't even get a certification for that. It's like everything.
I don't know about that one. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
You
they don't check your background.
You said some things. Now, I'm not just going to sit by and let I know a lot of stripper fellas.
We know
what they saying in Atlanta. You can't get it.
I think they're going far beyond that. They finding ways to get on that.
The judge said, I guess the excuse for the Amber Geiger, she said that the plaintiff, I mean the bailiff, was fixing her hair looking for contraband. I know you heard that excuse. What did you feel about that?
No, it's sad because I go back to that illustration where they keep convicting our young black and brown people, and they never give them that benefit of consideration, benefit of possibility, benefit of the doubt even. They just treat us like criminals, even though we say, hold on, that kid had no criminal history. He was doing good. He made one bad decision, a momentary lapse in judgment, but yet we treat them as if they are lepers. But then this white woman who we know killed Botham Jean, who was sitting in his apartment eating ice cream, minding his business, we treat her like the Virgin Mary. What message does that send to our children?
Have you ever seen a judge come off the bench to give a convicted
Not in all my 25 years of practice. Never. Never. And I'm just shocked still. I was sitting in the courtroom and I'm still shocked that, I'm respectful to the court, but I'm just still shocked. I'll leave it there because I don't want to say too much.
No, well, listen.
Yes.
Thank you for stopping by, man. We really appreciate it.
Really had a good time.
Yes, sir.